I don't know what this moron has done. He's literally online a second ago and he's offline. I don't know where he is. Anyway, we're here to talk about Hawkeye episodes 1 and 2. He's still offline. Okay, he hasn't added his camera and microphone. This is great. And in fact, he's totally disappeared. Right, so it's just me for the time being. Yep, so we've had the first episode of Hawkeye. In fact, the first 2 episodes, which was amazing. So essentially, we've started off with a flashback of Kate Bishop, who goes on to be Hawkeye. We see her. Oh, you're here. Great. So we start off with a flashback in the episode of Kate Bishop with her family. Quite. She's Kate Bishop is from a very wealthy family, has to be said. And we essentially see the Battle of New York from Avengers 1 taking place, which was pretty cool. What did you think of the opening to Hawkeye episode 1?
I thought it was really great. First off, apologies for the little technical error. The Duke was telling me we could hear a little sound sound feedback. So I was trying to tweak some things on this laptop, and I think somehow I just disconnected myself right as we're going on here. So that was on me, but yeah. I think he said he still can hear it, so my bad. We'll figure that one out. But yeah, it was really good because, it started off where literally, you saw her as a kid, eavesdropping, listening to the parents, having, parental day-to-day arguments about finances or whatever.
Sorry. So it's just yes, the comedy has started. He's here. The comedy has started.
Yeah. What's up, Kay? Well, and then literally it just went on from there. That was like the flashback of everything happening. Like her first interaction with, an Avenger or with the Avengers.
Well, it's why she's inspired, isn't it, to pick up a bow and arrow as opposed to any other weapon. It's actually Clint who saves her life during the Battle of New York.
Yeah, so literally, just like with anything, you someone who does something like that, basically you have that kind of, like, you pay this kind of homage to them where you're like, wow, I want to be like them type of thing, because of the impact that they had on your life. And yeah, she just took it off from there, and we just then fast forward to seeing. I think it would have been nice for them to have shown a little bit of what it was like for her while she was growing up, like her learning. Maybe they will do that later on in the series.
Maybe. So, brother says quite rightly they have watered down her origin story for this series. It is Disney, so these are the things they have to do. But I'm going to get straight into a big question. And that echo is really annoying me. I'm going to go straight into a big question. So we see them arguing, Kate's parents arguing, and then the attack on New York happens from the Chitauri. We see Kate's mum, but we don't see Derek, her dad. We assume he's dead, and he probably is dead because it was a funeral. But are we right to assume Derek died from the Chitauri? Kate looks a bit sus. Not Kate, sorry. Eleanor, Kate's mum, looks a bit sus. I'm willing to lay lots of your money on the fact that she actually murdered Derek.
Yeah, there is something weird about the whole dynamic, because if you look at it in the beginning when they were having that dispute, it was about money. And, he was like, don't worry, I'll fix it. I'm going to my office. So it seems as though, based on that interaction or how it was actually portrayed, it was as if he was the breadwinner of the family. Yeah. It wasn't like they were both, like equal working parent, where technically then they wouldn't really be in that predicament, because it more seemed like he was under a lot of stress because things ain't going right and they're losing money. And then it goes from where, the attack happens, and then it fast forwards to probably about maybe 10 years. You think maybe because she looked about maybe about 10.
So let's get this worked out. She was 12 years. 10 years. 12 years.
She's 22 now.
Yeah. So the attack on New York happened in 2012. God, it must be based in 2024. So yeah, she must be 10, I think, when the attack happened.
Yeah. So she was about 10. So
keep in mind. I did as well.
Keep in mind also within that time, you also had the snap, all those things. So where would the mom have amounted that fortune, what it seems that she's gotten? Yeah. Unless she's also, like you says, maybe she's a villain.
Yes, my brother's pointing out that she's 5. Well, I'm going to get into this a bit more. I'm going to go straight into it because I think Eleanor Bishop is the big one of maybe not the big bad guy, but one of the big bad guys for this series. So Kate Bishop, when we see Derek Bishop, sorry, Eleanor was one of the big bad guys, not Kate. Eleanor. When we see Derek being buried, if you look over the shoulder of a mourning Eleanor and Kate, you see a gravestone for Russell Bishop just behind.
Yeah.
So that kind of suggests that actually this family, his side of the family, might have like a plot of land where they do all their burials. Suggesting
like a family, yeah.
Yeah, suggesting actually all the wealth is with that part of the family. I think basically the Chitauri have attacked. Eleanor's seen a big gaping hole in the wall of their house. I don't know, maybe she's like pushed him out of the hole or something.
Yeah, maybe he was trapped and she went there, could have helped him, but she just finished him off.
Yeah. And,
situation like that, there's not going to be no investigation,
When you say finish him off, what do you mean?
Like, say he was trapped and she could have actually like.
I'm just making sure we're not getting X-rated with this podcast.
No, this is family-friendly entertainment.
Yeah, just making sure. But yeah, so and then she gets that sweet inheritance. She gets that sweet insurance money for his death, and then the next thing you know, like 10 years later, she's got this huge security firm, which is like making, I'm assuming, millions of dollars, or at least in the high 100,000s in terms of profit.
That looks like it's making serious millions, not small, but big time money. Because if you look at it, I mean, I know we fast forward, we're going a bit fast, but so it is. But they can hack into phone and track people and do all of that kind of thing. That's not your regular, like Hawkeye security or Watchmen security. That's like, like serious money, technological, like connections in order for you to actually have that kind of pull. Because look at when Hawkeye went missing, look how quickly she was able to track him.
Yeah, and I think another thing we've got to take into account as well is, or consider, like, was the security form in place when Derek died, or was it something after? I think they might be hinting towards that either Eleanor or Derek might have been involved in the criminal underworld, hence the reason he was in there anyway. Because we also see the argument taking place between Eleanor and Anan, Jack's uncle, and Kate says, "Oh, was he threatening you?" That was about power or money. We can't quite make out exactly what the argument was about, but I'm willing to lay my money on that's got something to do with the criminal underworld. That disagreement.
Yeah, I think it's to use another relationship. I think it's a scenario like Thanos and Death, where Lady Death literally has the power and Thanos trying to impress her. He's like the weaker one. I think, the fiance
Jack.
Don't you think he's got he thinks he's
Jacques.
got power? He doesn't really. He's trying to impress her.
Well, in the comics, Jacques is a character known as the Swordsman. He wears quite a garish kind of light purple armor in the comics. And he in the comics, the Swordsman kind of flits between good guy and bad guy, but he's essentially the person who trains Hawkeye and basically gives Hawkeye all of his skills. They're not going to. That's not the story for this show, but
yeah, he might even get killed off in this one.
Yeah, but it does show that he has been taken from comic canon. So yeah, he's a skilled fighter within himself. My brother's speculating that Eleanor might have big links to the Kingpin.
Yeah.
Now
I feel so too.
A few people on Twitter and stuff, they've actually said the hotel in which they're having the black market auction is actually the hotel which Kingpin buys in Daredevil in the last season of Netflix's Daredevil.
Ah.
So I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to hope too much. I don't want to give like the last stream. I don't want to give myself into hope, but I'm feeling quietly confident that the Kingpin might turn up.
Yeah, I was reading some stuff about that, possibly that he's coming across now into the MCU because the actual actor who plays the Kingpin, he's signed on for that. Because they're happy with him or whatever. So it could possibly be that, or maybe they're going to wait to actually introduce him, which would actually be really great in one of the movies.
Well, interestingly, I think the last episode of the penultimate episode of Hawkeye comes out the week before Spider-Man comes out in the cinema. Both movies kind of take place in New York, so.
But hang on, but don't Spider-Man comes out on the 15th.
Yeah, you do the maths.
Of December, but next week is the 1st. So basically, that means that Hawkeye is going to be on. So, what are they planning to do? Like what they did, which is like 2 episodes each week, in order to make it finish in time.
I think it's 6 episodes. 2, 3.
Then yeah,
6. Yeah, no, it works. No, the maths works out. I'll let you do it yourself, but the maths works out.
Yeah, as in 2 episodes. So
no. You still do it 1 episode a week from now on, and it's still finished the week before Christmas.
But Spider-Man comes out the 15th.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday is the 1st.
So the penultimate episode, I said.
Ah. Oh, my bad. I thought you meant that. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Do I have to tell you what penultimate means?
No.
Okay, good.
And I don't need my phone either, see? No phone here. I don't need to use Google.
Well done.
Hang on.
Remember, you're back on probation, so you've got to watch these things.
I've just noticed something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you notice anything different, Manny?
No.
Nothing different. No slight. I don't know. Maybe the background is slightly different.
You've got 2 new posters, but we'll get into it. Don't worry. We'll talk about your posters. But I want to talk about Hawkeye first. So, and I don't want to lose the stream of consciousness I was just on. So essentially, we could have a situation where maybe they don't want to debut Kingpin too early in the So maybe they want to do a thing where they debut Kingpin and Daredevil in the same week, respectively, in the 2 different shows. Because if they introduce Kingpin, say, next week, people are going to be even more sure that Daredevil's going to appear in Spider-Man. But if they wait and they just have that week where it's like, bang, you watch Hawkeye, you see Kingpin. You go to the cinema 2 days later, bang, you see Charlie Cox playing Daredevil. I think that would be far more effective, and you keep the secret with both the series and the movie as well.
Well, I get what you're saying, but I think also at the same time, I think that element of surprise won't really be there because you have so many vloggers and so many predictions that people are putting out there online, and everyone's curious, so everyone will really, especially a lot of people may be curious where they may be listening and checking out all these different vlogs to see what streamers are saying, and trying to dissect from each different ones to see maybe that theory might actually be correct, or maybe so when it does happen, it does kind of take away that, if it does happen, it will kind of a little way may take away the element of surprise. And
I'll still be surprised. I'll still be cheering if I see Kingpin. I'll still be cheering if I see Charlie Cox as Daredevil popping up. I'll still be cheering if suddenly Tobey Maguire pops up in an Andrew Garfield pop up in Spider-Man.
Well, I think now more than ever, I believe, especially after seeing a clip from one of these Spider-Man trailers when I was doing a little, refresher for this stream earlier, and I saw Dr. Octopus referred to Spider-Man as Peter Parker, which.
But he says you're not Peter.
Is that what he said when he?
In the most recent trailer, he says you're not Peter. But anyway, we're getting distracted.
But it's the fact that he mentioned, even to deduce that or say anything like that, that's kind of throwing that out there of planting that seed of maybe. Well, I've already said you want to be hopeful and not get your hopes up at the same time. But yeah, I think I just think based on Andy Garfield's behavior of how he was in terms of losing out on Spider-Man and his Spider-Man not going forward, I think if he wasn't going to be in it, he probably would have been like that bitter ex. He would have been throwing out some stuff on Twitter and
Maybe, but yeah.
We'll see. We got a couple weeks to go.
We're getting sidelines. So in the comics as well, and I'll show it again. So if you haven't bought it yet or you haven't encountered it yet, again, amazing story. This is what the story is based from.
As you just showed that, Manny, quick one. Did you actually ever do any of these graphic novels or any of these comics in audio, like audiobooks?
No, not really, because it's a graphic novel or it's a comic, so you need the accompaniment of the pictures to tell the story. Using it purely as audio just wouldn't work. Secondly, God, that's a lot of work as well, because you're going to need different voice actors to voice each bit as well. It's a lot of work. But yeah, that's the reason. But where was I? You keep on distracting me, David. What was I talking about?
Me?
Yeah.
You was just showing us the Hawkeye book again. That's what he was doing.
Yeah. So, but anyway, no, I remember the point now. So, essentially, one of the main bad guys in this story is Madam Mask. So, I wonder if Madam Mask is essentially going to end. There's a picture of Madam Mask there. There she is, with the firearm and her mask, which is why she's called Madam Mask. I wonder if that's essentially going to be Eleanor's role in this series, her playing Madam Mask. That's the feeling I am going towards. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you've missed. I might have missed something, to be fair. But yeah, that's
she does give off. Yeah, she does give off villain vibes. She's no pushover. She's just way too calm. And even when the whole shenanigans went down in the hotel from the the whole
with the tracksuit
market. Yeah, with the whole black market. She wasn't, like what you'd expect, like with most, say, upper class rich folks who's not used to that kind of environment, and to see something like that, they would be panicking, where's my daughter? When she called her, she just more called her just out of like, kind of like, what, let me play that role. I need to call and be like the concerned parent and whatnot. Because judging by her behavior, she doesn't seem, okay, not saying she doesn't care about her daughter, but the behavior, how she treats her, it's literally like, here's your credit cards, literally, you do, like they have separate lives.
Well, I think it's hinted as well, isn't it, that Kate probably liked her dad more than she liked her mum.
Yeah.
In that opening scene as well. Because when he says, "Oh, how much did you hear?" Like when he goes up there in that first scene, I think he's referring to that kind of negative comment which Eleanor made about her daughter, which I can't remember exactly word for word. But yeah, that's the impression I get. And I think as well, there's 3 interesting clues which our friends on the internet have pointed out for us, and I worked out one of them as well, to be fair. But there's 3 clues that there's more to Eleanor than meets the eye. So I don't know if you remember that scene where she's flicking the food up and catching it in her mouth to impress her daughter.
Yeah. When she was young, in the kitchen.
Yeah. So that kind of might indicate that she's actually very agile herself in her own right. There's a bit as well where they're showing Kate's medals and trophies and stuff, and there's a picture of a woman doing a handstand, suggesting that's Eleanor as well doing that handstand. And when Kate and Jacques, the swordsman, are having their sword fight, Eleanor doesn't seem that bothered. You'd think like
that's exactly what I'm saying to you. Like her behavior, like when she does put on the act as if she's bothered, I think she doesn't give her. I think what it is, right? I may be wrong, but I don't think the husband was in on what she was in. I think it was all her. I think he was more the show pony for her to be like, pretend like, I'm just this wife with this husband that, just doing this. I don't even, in fact, I think when they were broke, when they were having, arguments about money, I think she was rich from day one. She had money from all that time. I think what it is, she obviously, because she's playing that role, which he's probably so oblivious to what she's really about. He's just doing the work in the office. So he's just, as long as food is there, and, the child is taken care of. Yeah. He's not, his eyes ain't really open. He never really saw exactly what was going on. So therefore, because she knows what his finance would be, because he's probably one of those guys who would say, oh, honey, yes, this is my income, XYZ. She would have probably been like, well, I have to play the role like, oh my God, we're losing money. What are we going to do? What are you going to do to fix it? But in reality, she was never really worried because she's really got money.
So I think that's a fair point. And just to go into the previous point as well, my brother points out here, she was standing right next to them during the fencing. I think what both myself and brother alluding to are that I think she's very used to being around violence, and she's very used to. She isn't phased, as you said about the attack by the tracksuit mafia. She isn't phased by these things. Like she's seen stuff in her prior life before.
I don't even think it's just seen stuff, Manny. I think she knows that she can do that. She can do that and do that better. So therefore, if something is not a threat to you, then you do not need to actually stand away or be on the defensive or anything. She was just there with the wine, but she still had to play that role as if like, oh my God, this is dangerous. What are you doing? You could have hurt him. But really and truly, she knows that he can take care of himself.
Yeah.
And she knows that she's probably more superior than him. So therefore, she wasn't worried about herself or him. But she has to play that role as if, oh, you could have hurt him. You almost injured him or whatever. Because look how easily he parried her when she tried to catch him off guard or when she thought he was off guard. And he did it as if it was nothing, and as if it was like, oh, I just got lucky, like, that could have been blah, blah, blah. But really and truly, he knew exactly what he was doing.
She's the swordsman. I mean, sorry, he's the swordsman, sorry. But yeah, I think we're both in agreement here. I think she's made a mask. Sorry, I'm just going to show a bit more. This is the footage from, this is the screen from the black market in the comic. So you can see AIM over here, sorry. The Hydra over there, the black market. Oh God. You can see Madame Mask on the other side.
Yeah.
God, I'm not sure who that is in the red. You can see Kingpin down just below as well. He's Kingpin in this comic. He's actually Kingpin is the one who's actually the one in charge of the auction as well. So yeah, I think this is all pointing towards Eleanor being a big bad. And another thing as well. So in the last scene where Hawkeye allows himself to be captured by the tracksuit mafia, bro. And then Kate falls through the ceiling and stuff, and they say, "Oh, like, leave her, like our boss said, like, keep them alive." She said, keep them alive. But then they switch to Echo. So I think they're trying to put maybe an idea in your head that Echo's the boss they're referring to, but I think he's actually Eleanor Bishop is the boss which they're referring to.
Yeah, but can I just digress for a second and just say, just
if you have to.
Well, I have to. Looking back just on this, and then looking back on Falcon and Winter Soldier, it seems that there's absolutely no benefit to being part of the Avengers if you're not wealthy to begin with. Because think about it, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, Falcon was there struggling, trying to get a loan to fix up the boat, right? Remember? And in this one, Hawkeye, dude is now hearing impairment because of all of the damage he's taken. There's no like Avengers health plan that say, all right, you know what? You got this. We're going to give you some savvy tech. They ain't got an NHS, have they? It's you can't just go and dial up your GP first thing in the morning. You call them between 8 and 11 a.m. so you can get an emergency appointment. You go in and see them, and that's just literally whatever you do. And with, like you said, with America, literally, if you ain't got Obamacare or one of those kind of things, you are in problems. Like you can't hear you go there, you come back out, there's like a $15,000 medical bill.
Do you think Clint was like, my hearing's going, but I know what I'll do. I'll give my good friend Tony Stark a phone call and he'll make me... No, I can't, he's dead. He can't make me a hearing aid. I forgot he's dead.
But that's what I'm saying, Manny. It's like there's no benefits. I mean, you'd think all of that, they would have bonded through all of that. Like, so yeah, okay, fair enough. Tony's dead. But now all his money, his fortune, which is billions, if not trillions, is now being taken over by Pepper. So you're telling me that Pepper is that greedy and mean and stingy that she can't just say, you know what, let me give you a little $1 million, which that's probably like a day's interest based on the kind of money what Tony Stark would have. And she can't give one of the guys who helped save.
She's a terrible human being. She calls herself Rescue when she's in the armor. She ain't rescued anybody.
Well, she is. She's rescuing herself and her bank balance.
So I think this is a good point. Hawkeye is a human story. It hurts to be a hero and the pitfalls. And I think we see this in both episodes. I think Hawkeye has probably always been... I think he's always been the most grounded superhero. He kind of does it out of duty, but he doesn't want any of the thrills that come with it. He's he's the most private of all the Avengers. And I think we see that, and I thought it was interesting as well where like he goes to take a pee and he sees the Thanos is right. Written on the which I think he might have scribbled on there in all fairness. And he doesn't like. He's not recoiled by it. He's like, maybe. And
Yeah, come on, you lost your hearing. Things is going. You're watching them make a mockery of your whole life, making a musical of your whole life. Literally, it's
don't
now
lie.
become a Broadway.
I bet if he debuted at the West End, you'd be like, "Oh, Manny, could we go and see that, please?"
Why not? But I'm sure I read something to say that they might actually be doing the musical.
Oh, if they do that, I am so there. I am so there. Screw Hamilton. Screw Hamilton. I'm all about Rogers the musical, me.
Exactly. Yeah, Hawkeye the musical, something like that. It was saying. I was reading, but we'll see. I mean, they're turning everything else into musicals, so don't be surprised.
Would actually base that from Hamilton because the person who wrote that scene, he was going past the Hamilton Theatre in New York, and he thought, "Hey, why don't we have a scene where they're kind of doing a Hamilton-esque production of what happened to the Avengers?" And actually, I think we should talk about that as well because one thing I find surprising: the general public seems to know a lot of details of what happened in all of these battles. You'd think some of it would be classified or just not spoken about, but it seems like they know everything.
Well, the reason why is I think because I think the fallout from even Avengers 1, I think that made them where they weren't gonna have any faith into the government, and then also with the whole shenanigan with Hydra being about in this day and age, in Captain America, again, it just shows that corruption in politics goes on a bigger scale, especially now when you've got all these different entities. So therefore, the only safest way to actually guarantee transparency is to just let people know exactly what's going on.
Maybe.
I mean, they haven't signed any legal binding documents to say yes, we can't say this or we can't say that, which is something kind of similar like what they wanted to do, didn't they? It was in Civil War.
Yeah, that was the Civil War story in a nutshell.
Basically, and they didn't do that. So therefore, now think about it, had they done that, it means that everything would have been deemed classified.
Now I'm sure they've done this in the 80s during the comic run. That the Marvel comics existed within the Marvel comic universe. So there'll be like people like learning the stories of what's happening in the superhero world and then producing comics about what was happening. So there would be like an Amazing Spider-Man comic within the Amazing Spider-Man comic.
Like makes sense. Kind of like in Heroes. Remember in Heroes, Hero literally was reading the comics.
Yeah, what was happening?
About what was happening.
So see,
while he's reading it.
So maybe there's a similar thing going on here. Maybe like Stan Lee kind of like existed in this universe and he actually brought the rights for like the stories and stuff in his. Maybe they're actually producing like comics for what happened in Avengers.
Was it you that was telling me about that there was a character like that? Or was it me that's just read that online?
Might have been you just read that online. I'm not sure. So my brother says, I think I want to know why. I think I'd want to know. I think I'd want to know why aliens attacked and half the population disappeared and then reappeared. I mean, that's fair. I mean, the population would have a right to know. Whether we found out or not is a different story. But I guess as well, when half the population disappeared, I imagine a lot of governments failed, and it was probably easy to get transparency because I imagine a lot of.
I don't even think it's just that. I don't even think it's just that alone, Manny. I think it also comes down to the fact that in most scenarios, like things like, for instance, what's happening now with us, it's all human elements on every aspect of it. But in everything that was going on in there, you've got aliens, you've got that. So it's not a situation where the government is in control, where they could say, well, if you don't do this, we're going to sanction. Aliens ain't going to follow by anything they've got to say. So therefore, it's above them. So therefore, it means that the regular rules and way you go about conducting business or secrecy and what's classified and what isn't doesn't apply in that, because you may be able to tell me, Davie, to be quiet, but you can't go and tell Thanos and all the other aliens that come down, like, oh, you can't go around and let people know you're conquering, or you was part of the forces that was trying to conquer their, so therefore it's out of their hands. They've got no control over that. So hence that's why it's out there. And then also you're going to obviously have all these conspiracy theorists who's going to be out there saying, no, this is what really happened. So it's bound to be leak. And with everything that was going on, you got people who disappeared, like you said. They disappeared. Their kids was like 4 or 5. They come back now, they're like older and things like that. So you can't explain that. You can't tell them, well, no, you're imagining that. So yeah, I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, but I think what we see as well is that Hawkeye is he feels responsibility, but he very much just yearns for that kind of just normal life as well. And but what we've seen throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe is actually he's very willing to pick up strays and look after them. So he's the one who found Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, picked him up, took her under his wing and looked after her. He's the one who helped Scarlet Witch, basically become an Avenger. And now he's found Kate Bishop, and he's I think he sees another Black Widow, or he sees another Scarlet Witch in her as well, and he's like, oh, God, I've got to look after her now, haven't I?
Yeah, but I think it's slightly different this time, because I think he looks as though like he's now at the end of his rope with everything. I think, obviously with Black Widow's death, that's had like a huge impact on him and his family, because until when we saw them actually having that interaction when the Avengers went to his home, and then they saw that, oh, you're married, you got a wife, you got kids, blah, blah, blah. And then, they saw her and they're like, oh, auntie, calling her auntie and stuff like that. They realized that there was a lot more to him than what they realized. And there was a lot more to their relationship between himself and Black Widow and his family than what they actually thought. They weren't just like the rest of them where, it was just like build on the fact that we needed to come together to stop this. They actually have genuine ties and connection. So I think with him losing her, it's going to obviously affect him different than it would the rest of the Avengers.
Yeah, that's why I think initially he's like a bit like, he just wants to get rid of Kate initially, doesn't he? He's just like, here's my number in emergency, but don't ring me. Just like, I'm not your friend. Don't ring me. But there's still that part of Hawkeye, which is really good. And he's like, I don't want to get involved, but I kind of have to, aren't I?
Yeah, again, I kind of look at it slightly different. I kind of look at it like he's probably saying to himself, well, you know what? If Natasha was here, she would obviously help this girl. So, you know what? I have to do it because Natasha would kind of do it.
I think he would have done it anyway. I think all the evidence from the past movies suggests that, he's always willing to help a stray. And I think that's kind of embodied in the dog as well, Lucky, with one eye, the one-eyed dog. I think that's kind of like a metaphor for their kind of relationship. Just like taking in the stray and helping it. And
it's true. Damaged goods, and like the dog is, like messed up just like them, whether it be emotionally or physically.
Like Hawkeye's got the hearing impairment. Lucky's only got one eye.
Yeah.
They're all damaged.
Kate is basically raising herself.
Yeah,
because the mama ain't raising her. So
yeah, they're all damaged in some way, but they've somehow all found each other. It's a beautiful Christmas story.
I think maybe that's not the last we've seen at, I can't remember the guy's name. The one who was actually wearing Ronin costume at that cosplay.
Grills.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's actually in here. He's actually a white dude who does a lot of grilling on the barbecue. So he is. There's a possibility we might see him again. I worry for Grills because Grills has posted a video of himself wearing the Ronin armor.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think.
Social media.
He's gonna somehow save him, and I think that's not the last we've seen. Because let's face it, if he wanted, he could have actually just taken the suit from them, like, beat the hell out of them, taken the suit and just left. But instead, he helped him to kind of fulfill his little fantasy of looking cool in front of, his peers. And even though it wasn't something that he wanted to do, he entertained it. Like, he actually entertained him by going along with it, and he got what he wants. So I think that, again, is like another relationship that's now being built, because I think there may be something else will come up where we're actually going to see Grills at some point in.
Yeah, I think we will see Grills as well, but let me warn you now: don't get attached to Grills. If the next time we see Grills, he's chopped up into little pieces, don't say I didn't warn him.
Hey, nothing surprises in these now. I mean, look what happened in what you call it? What was it? Was it? Yeah, in Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's what I was thinking about. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, with what's his name? Who got killed?
Battlestar.
Yeah, Battlestar. Which he's not dead in the comics, is he? He didn't die that way in the comics.
No, not that way. No.
He actually became Battlestar, but in this, he literally just got bodied.
No, but I was just like having this image now of like them finding Grills' body all chopped up. I'm not saying he's going to die that way. I'm not and Hawkeye brings Lucky the dog with him, and he's like, "No, Lucky, you can't eat that." And Lucky's all like, "I want to eat the bits.
I want some Grills."
You can't eat Mr. Grills. No, it's really out of order.
But speaking of the tracksuit,
that's my impression of the dog, by the way.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I really like the tracksuit mafia.
Bro.
Yeah, bro. I really do like them. They actually I think all the characters for this fit perfectly. All the type of characters.
We should go to Comic-Con for the tracksuit mafia. And just say bro over and over again if they're walking around.
But come on, bro, he's complaining. You think it's easy to get to wear? I was like, that had me dying of laughter because it was just, it's so funny, but also you can actually see something like that happening based on, again, your background, because they're all like foreigners to them, where they feel like if they did something like that, that's like a big thing, so you should show, yes, even though we're kidnapping you, you should be grateful that we took the time to actually find this facility. It could have been worse, and it's not easy in this given day with the economy.
Yeah, so talk about tracksuit mafia, because I think they're really cool, but my brother's made a point here. This is quite a deep cut of a point. Where was damage control, he says? They should have mopped up the Avengers compound after Endgame and not let all this stuff go on the black market. So in the comics, damage control were what is in the tin. They basically used to earn money. They were like a clean-up firm, strikes insurance firm, who used to basically clear up after superheroes after big battle and get paid for it, basically. Actually, in the Civil War, in the comics, damage control, they find out, are actually juicing up some of the supervillains so that they cause extra damage during their battles and thus make more money from clearing up, which you got mortgages to pay, to pay, and you need that extra money there, that bonus. Who knows? There's probably bonus targets that they have to make as well. So the more you do. Well, in the comics, if I recall correctly, it's actually Wolverine is the one who goes in there and basically threatens to just kill them all if they don't stop this rubbish. And they're all like, "Oh, yes, Mr. Wolverine."
Where was the Union? Where was Unite and GMB then, eh?
a unit, their union just sort of snicked. They were like, we're out. We're out. Yeah, you can cross the picket line. We're out. No, but what I like about the tracksuit mafia is that they're kind of like a bit of an oxymoron, because you always expect mafioso to be wearing like sharp suits and, you know, being really slick and stuff. These guys are like wearing tracksuits, which are like the opposite of the smart suit in terms of they wear. And, you know, and they're not that slick. They're actually quite rough around the edges. When it comes down to
I think that's an understatement. You know, they're very rough. Literally, like, you know.
So I do like the fact that they're kind of like just this. I don't want to say 2-bit gang, but they're just kind of like this very rough gang, calling themselves mafia, but they're actually wearing tracksuits as well. It's like lots of different kind of elements thrown in there.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel, like, you know, like literally, it's like they come in here and they're thinking, what can we do for work? And they try everything else and nothing work. And one of them just say, oh, maybe we should just join a gang and just go around and just, you know, do stuff. Well, what do you think we should call ourselves, bro? I don't know. I like those tracksuit, bro. Kind of look like a mafia. I know. Tracksuit mafia, bro. Yeah, that's it. Let's go. And then they all head down to like the nearest knockoff Foot Locker. Get those same tracksuit. Probably you buy 4, you get 4 pair of flip-flops free with it as well.
There you go. Davie's just done the entire origin story for the tracksuit mafia.
There you go.
Probably trying to find the picture of the tracksuit mafia. There's some tracksuit mafia action there.
Think about it now. You know that sales in their home country, when they send pictures back in them tracksuit now, you know, all the local, you know, lads and the kids are going to be like, yeah, we want tracksuit too. So literally the sales in tracksuit is going to go up.
Yeah. So, but yeah, in the comics, they are working for the Kingpin. So again, we are pointing towards the Kingpin. Have you got any theories on the watch? Because the Tracksuit Mafia raid the auction and they want the watch from the Avengers compound.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's not for them.
No.
You know, it clearly ain't the brains behind anything. You know, so I think they're just basically, they've been sent to collect that for a reason. Maybe it's just for someone like the Kingpin, or maybe, oh my God, what's her name?
But why would he want it? I think this watch either has
just for collection. Maybe that might be, what's her name? Captain America's niece.
So according to my brother, Stratford is full of tracksuit. My brother thinks the Tracksuit Mafia is actually operating in Stratford. So if you actually want to go and hang out in the Tracksuit Mafia, just take the Central Line down to Stratford. They're there, and you can just hang out with them, apparently. Not me saying that.
I'd love to see them the next time we go to next time we go to Ask Italia, just before the bill comes out. If they just come in there and just start raising hell, you know, I might be able to get a free meal. So if you're out there, guys,
or we might end up dead. You know, it could go one of two ways. I mean, if that happens, I run into Sports Director putting the tracksuit on so I can fit in.
Oh yeah, there is a big Sports Direct inside there, isn't it? Yeah, so yeah,
just definitely. But I think that watch I think it must play a crucial role, because that was the mechanism which introduces the Tracksuit Mafia. So I think it must play a bigger role, either for whoever wants it, whether that be the Kingpin, whether that be Madam Mask, sorry, whether that be Jacques, whoever this may be, whoever the big bad may be. I think it either holds high sentimental value, or that watch has some kind of deep practical purpose, like it might be Stark tech inside there or something. I think it must be one of those two, but I haven't got any theories as to what bigger role that watch plays.
It could easily possibly be from a character not from this, but from maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Could be.
What's her name? I can't remember her name. I was just about to Google. Captain America's niece.
Sharon Carter's niece.
Sharon Carter. Yeah, well, it's still his niece by marriage.
Peggy, Sharon Carter is her name. Tracy's Peggy Carter's niece. Sorry.
Yeah, Sharon Carter. Maybe it's her because remember she's like that underground where she sell
she's the power broker apparently.
Yeah, the power broker. So that might be something. Maybe she just wants it just to like rub salt in the wound. Like, you know, yeah, collect it. Yeah, I was part of it from the beginning. So yeah, I'll just keep that as that's one of the last remnants of it ending.
Maybe. I mean, it would because be.
There's not been any interaction with any of the Avengers and the Kingpin or anyone in this whole scenario right now. So it would be pointless to them, considering they've not been in any of the stories where you could say, well, they must know something about the Watch that we don't. How would they when they've not been in the entirety of any of this?
Absolutely. Here's a good point. Eleanor was not fazed by Kate saying that a black market auction was happening. Maybe she sent the tracksuit mafia. Maybe, which is a point we made earlier. Like maybe Eleanor's actually in charge of the tracksuit mafia.
Yeah, and she might actually be working for the power broker.
That's not the worst theory we've had in the world. I mean, I think the power broker.
What? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Based on how she was with her husband, I don't think she really has much respect for men. She used men to get what she wants for a certain purpose, whether it be to add to her fortune or whether it be for, like in her husband's case, just to play the wife, the good wife, while that
to finish them off.
Well, yeah, we can leave that bit out. To play the good wife just so that no one will know what she's really doing, behind the scenes, like, with her criminal organization. I don't think, even as powerful as the Kingpin is, she would work for the Kingpin. I think she would make him think she's working for him, but I think in reality, she would more likely be working for someone like the power broker.
Yeah.
Based on the possibility that the power broker would say to her, look what happened to me as a woman who was out there doing so much. I wasn't just like an underling. I was one of the top agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. And for my part, for basically trying to stand up for what was right, I was exiled, but the men, they got to come back home like heroes and everything was fine. So I think this might just be some kind of thing where they're like, you know what? We'll let men think that we, they're in charge of certain things, but we're actually up to something bigger. So I think maybe it's the power broker that's got a deeper purpose or something sinister, maybe with the watch.
So this is
maybe it's just something we should probably just say. It could be that, or it might be the power broker wanted just to say, you know what? Look at this. This is just a remnant of how weak man was. This is all that's left of the powerful Avengers.
Okay, I hope with that soliloquy we haven't wandered too much into your private life, but we'll move on swiftly. There's a quick point I wanted to make. So I think you've touched upon something. I think there might be some kind of turf war going on between the different organized criminal groups in New York, and I think this is maybe what we're seeing in this. And there's obviously, when any kind of warfare takes place at a gang or an organized group level, you'll see like groups make alliances and break alliances, and maybe what we were seeing was Eleanor maybe trying to make an alliance with Anan. Brings me on to the next point. So we see Anan, the third, he's murdered, and we assume he's murdered by his nephew, Jacques. Kay, could you please inform the boy that not to watch that? Doing that to uncles is not good. But
sorry, Manny, put that comment up just now. Just saying.
But do we know the swordsman killed him? Because it seems almost too obvious that it was the swordsman. Because we see the swordsman steal Ronin's blade, put it in his jacket, and then later on we see Anand's dead. He's been sworded to death, for want of a better term. we see as well that Jacques has one of his little candies, which he's like taken from his bowl in his house. So everything points towards Jacques being the murderer. But is he?
Yeah, I mean, it's too obvious. And
then you think that's the point. Do you think maybe it's too obvious? It's too on the nose that he killed him?
It's not him. In fact, my theory is I think when he took Ronin's sword, he didn't take it for himself. I think he took it for Eleanor to try and impress her. So yeah, here you go, man.
I don't know. You've got to remember, he's the swordsman. He loves a sword.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that he's got a certain arrogance about himself where, yeah, though he loves the sword, he would want, like, he's so confident in his skill, he'll feel like his sword is better than anyone else. So if he does take anything, it's not necessarily because he wants it. It's just to say, yeah, it's nothing to do with it. It's not as good as mine. But for someone like Eleanor, who he's trying to impress, he just feels if he does something like that, that will score more points with her.
Maybe. I'm not convinced, but maybe. There's another point we forgot to mention as well. So, Anan, I feel it's quite interesting that he walks up to Kate Bishop and says, "Your mum, she's a bit of a bitch, isn't she? I don't want my nephew marrying her."
But we haven't skipped past that. Remember, we actually said that where we said it seems like she's actually the one who's in control.
Yeah, but I just thought it was really weird that he would actually make that point, like to the girls, to like the woman's daughter. Yeah, I don't like your mum. Don't want to marry into my family.
Because I think he probably knows. I think he knew just based on being around the mom that the mom and the daughter don't really have that great a relationship. Because the way he looks at it,
maybe
why would you abandon your child in a sense? Because if you look at it,
maybe he's heard stuff. But remember as well, though, they haven't seen each other for years.
Who, him and Eleanor, or him and her daughter?
Him and Anna and Kate hadn't seen each other for years, remember? Because remember, he says, "Oh, don't you remember me?" She's like, "I don't remember you. You used to come to my house for brunch when you were little." Suggesting that it's been like 5+ years since they've seen each other.
Right, but that's my point. That plays more into what I'm saying in the sense that if you look at it, his name is what? Enan?
Yeah, Anan.
And he's what? Enan the third?
Yeah.
And then the little kid that came in was Enan the seventh.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I say that is, which is why I think he said that to her, if you notice, Enan the seventh is with them, which basically means to them, he's not off to no boarding school or nothing. As much as they behave a certain way, I think they still have a certain way with family in the sense that family is supposed to be around and you're supposed to be together till whatever happened, whatever accident happened, or whoever you get the money, whatever. But he looks at the fact that Eleanor is there running around with Jack and her daughter is off to boarding school, and the fact that it means that if he says 5 years, it means that them two have been dating for at least that amount of time.
Did they say Kate went to boarding school? I don't think they did.
No, but the fact
he was at college.
Yeah, she was at college at that point, but you don't spend 5 years at college. She hadn't finished college. When we saw her, she hadn't finished college.
She's 22. So she would have been in her last year, potentially.
Yeah, it depends what she was studying.
Yeah, but it makes sense.
But yeah, but college you do 4 years.
There's no evidence to say she was at boarding school.
But there's no evidence to say that she was still around her, because the fact is, if he's saying that he hasn't seen her for 5 years,
Davie, we got to discuss this. You can't make up scenarios and then just.
No, but you're going by what he said. It's not scenario. If he hasn't seen her for 5 years, it's implying that he's seen the mom in that time. So if he's seen the mom in that time and not seen the daughter, where would the daughter have been?
Maybe in the business setting, which they've been hanging out with each other. But if she's been at college,
are they business part? Yeah, but college is 4 years, and she hasn't finished college yet.
So if they've been business partners, then maybe they see each other. Maybe
are they?
they're
did they imply
in a criminal sense, they might.
Oh yeah.
So because from what I've seen in all of because when you have the little flashback bits, whenever she's doing her training, you always see Eleanor with her. Like when she's doing the bow and arrow stuff, like Eleanor stood behind her. I get the impression that Eleanor's actually.
But that's That's after the father. Technically, after the father died.
Yeah, so that's the point which you're suggesting she's gone away.
Yeah, but you can still go away and then the mom turn up when you're doing tournaments and certain function.
Maybe
that's what they usually do.
Maybe again, we just don't know. We don't know. I'm just pointing out that I don't think that's a conclusion we should be jumping to necessarily.
I don't think it's just based on what she even said with like canceling your credit cards, things like that. You wouldn't give kids credit cards.
She's rich.
If they were living at home.
This is what rich kids get. Because we never got it, but this is what rich kids get.
Maybe.
We've never lived that rich life, Davie, so we don't quite.
Not yet. We're getting there. You know, once we take off with this, you know, we'll be getting there.
Speak for yourself. I'm begging outside Hompton Station after this string is over.
Better wrap up warm because it's quite nippy outside.
Yeah. All right. We just need to clarify something. God, Jesus Christ. So where was I?
About the killing off.
Yeah. So it feels as though I think it almost feels like he's too on the nose. Like they're saying, "Look at Jacques. It's definitely him who killed him." It just feels like a plot point that they're going to spin it back round and basically say, "Actually, it wasn't Jacques. It was somebody else who killed him." It just feels like it's too obvious. I'm not going to be wrong if it looks like a duck and it cracks like a duck. It probably is a duck, but I don't know. There's a bit of me that just thinks this could be the red herring. This could be a red herring.
I mean, it's only 6 episodes, so we won't really have that long to go, and we've seen 2 already, so there's 4 more left. So, you know, we haven't got that long to go before we'll know exactly who's what, and you know, providing there will be a season 2.
But it might be. We don't know. We'll see how it ends before we can work that out. So, just to finish up now, what did you think of Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop?
Yeah, she plays the part. Yeah, she plays the part well. The only thing which I thought was a bit much was, you know, with the whole fight scene in the, you know, in the underground auction.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, unless they're gonna, in some of the future episodes coming up, there's gonna be some kind of flashback that showed that she had actual combat training and where she's actually used her combat skills outside of a training environment to demonstrate how she would be able to put those skills in effect like she did so well in that scenario. Because if they don't find a great, if they don't find a realistic way in terms of the story to explain how she was able to do that, then it's just going to look and have that generic feel of, oh yeah, here we go. One of them typical ones there where they learn to Kung Fu and all of a sudden now they're out there just kicking ass and doing this and doing that, which is how they tried to make it out. So they must show something to show that maybe she was there going around beating up on, you know, like college dorks, guys, you know, like jocks who was there acting stupid, and, you know, she was teaching them a lesson as a vigilante, like, you know, the bullies, things like that. Then you could say, okay, yeah, it would explain that. But if you have nothing to show that, then,
yeah,
you know, that's the only...
It's a fair point. She does take to the fight like a duck to water. But maybe the tracksuit mafia...
In the middle of the fight.
Maybe the tracksuit mafia just aren't very good. Maybe they're just...
yeah, or, yeah, that's basically... That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to have to explain that, because if not, you have to basically make it out then that must have been their first rodeo, because if that's not the case, then, you know, I mean, what kind of villains are they? They had the opportunity where they could have killed him, because they've got guns, and they haven't done anything. In fact, they just tied them up on a chair.
So, just to clarify, everybody, this is Davie and Sullivan. The Eternals can't fight, and Kate Bishop fights too well. Moving on.
She should have been one of the Eternals.
So my brother points out things you missed. Kazia the Kazia, who's in charge of the tracksuit mafia. Hope we see more of him. And Echo. So that's a good point, actually. I forgot to mention. So when Echo debuts, she's bathed in red light, as my brother so eloquently puts it here. So he's suggesting it might be a Daredevil homage. I've heard a better theory regarding the red light on the interweb. Interweb's an amazing place, which I quite like. That maybe the red light is actually a reference to the Red Room, where all the widows came from in Black Widow 2. Because in the comics, Echo has very similar powers to Taskmaster. And we saw Taskmaster in Black Widow 2. Echo can learn moves, and she's got a photogenic combat memory, so she can mimic any fighting style which she witnesses, same as the Taskmaster. So potentially, do you think maybe that actually Echo might be one of the widows, which was deactivated in Black Widow 2?
It could possibly make sense, because the fact that we already know that, you know, Natasha's sister's gonna make an appearance, then it would make sense that if a villain's gonna be able to, especially a woman, a regular, just out of nowhere, be able to actually have a chance to fight against someone like Hawkeye, who's one of the Avengers, he's one of the Avengers, took on Thanos, did all of that. In order for her to actually be deemed believable as an enemy to actually challenge him, then it has to be someone with significant skills. So the only ones that we could think of is basically, like you said, those, Natasha, all those who had those training.
Yeah, and the fact that Florence Pugh apparently will be making an appearance in Hawkeye kind of suggests that maybe she's, because as my brother says, Echo is getting her own show, so we know that Echo, to use a wrestling term, is going to get a face turn at some point during the show. Maybe it's actually Florence Pugh who comes in and actually helps Echo kind of like break free and says, like, look, I've been through what you've been through. You don't have to, you can go legit.
Because Echo's the one who was raised by Kingpin, isn't it?
Yeah, in the comics, he's adopted by Kingpin. So again, that's another thing that points towards Kingpin potentially being in charge of this somewhere. I mean, I liked Hailee Steinfeld. I thought she done Kate Bishop very well. I really liked Jeremy Renner. I thought he was amazing in this. I really love the way he plays Clip Barton in this. Just kind of like I love the contrast between when he's with his family and how happy he is, to when he's away from his family and it just becomes an absolute curmudgeon. I just love that contrast. And I love the fact that he's beat up and he's here in this guy, because he's a non-superpowered superhero, so that would make sense. He would be pretty beaten up by now.
And not even just that, he's a non-powered superhero who's a part of the Avengers, who seems they don't actually have health plan or any kind of financial aid.
I remember they just let Scarlet Witch just like, oh, you're mourning, oh, just go and have your mental breakdown over there and leave us alone.
That's what I'm saying to you. They don't have, there's no support system, there's no counseling, no therapy, nothing whatsoever. Literally, it's like being in the army. I was back in the day for American soldiers, isn't it? Once you get discharged, you come out, you got PTSD. There's nothing for you. Literally, you're just a spent force. Which is and I think that's what some of what this story is mirroring. Like, how do you move on with your life after you've experienced such things? Because it's always
as much as Clint Barton, like when he's having a pee and that guy wants a selfie with him, it's the kind of thing I imagine you would do, Damien, if you saw a famous person in the toilets. Selfie, no, Damien, can't take you anywhere. But yeah, like he wants a selfie, and Clint's just exasperated by it all. He's walking out in the street, and they've thrown Katniss Everdeen in with the Avengers in that cosplay thing they were doing in the street. Ant-Man wasn't even at the Battle of New York, and he's been thrown into the Rogers musical, and he's just like sitting there going, I just want a normal life now. I can't be asked for any of this rubbish anymore.
But then technically, that is a normal life, Manny. I mean, how much more normal can you get than being there with your kids watching a musical that you probably don't want to see?
I mean, he wants a normal life, but there's even when he goes to the shop and they give him the stuff for free, and he goes to the restaurant, they give him free food, he doesn't want it. As much as he appreciates it, he doesn't want it because it just reminds him that he can't just fade into the background and just have a normal life with his wife and kids. It's always going to be some kind of reminder of who he was.
Right, like Uncle Ben used to say, with great power come great responsibilities. At the end of the day, you knew what you signed up for when you became an Avenger, and you was fighting without a mask. If you wanted a secret identity, you wanted to have your private life private, you should have wore a mask. That way you wouldn't have been recognized. You literally had nothing on. You weren't even like those, those 2-bit superheroes that will just have like the little patch thing over their face, like Swiper from Dora the Explorer. He didn't even have one of that. He was just...
Sorry. There we go. David Sullivan, victim blaming.
Paying homage to
doing what he does best. Blaming the victim.
No, I'm just saying, Manny,
he wants a quiet life. But no, it's your fault you can't have a quiet life. There you go. That's
I'm just saying. No, but I'm saying there's a difference.
Bucky had a support system. That's right. Yeah, Bucky did have a support system. That's actually a really good point.
Well, Bucky had a support system because the military still thought they could use him at some point.
And I think as well, he was still under some kind of probation, wasn't he? Like he had to sign up. He had to go to those sessions, otherwise he could be like recalled to prison or something.
Yeah. But again, it goes to what I'm saying. If he did want a secret identity, or to keep his private life private where no one knew who he was, no one told him he had to go out there as an Avenger without a mask.
Remember as well, he did start off as a shield agent, which meant he would have always been like protected his identity. And before he knew he was an Avenger, and he just like lost control of what happened. And then he was in. And remember as well, he was imprisoned as well by the government because of the Civil War stuff. I mean, I've got a lot of sympathy for him. I think, I do feel for him because I think, he just wants to go to his farm now, just be with his wife and kids, and just get to know them again. He's been away from them for 5 years. It's sad. Last question. Who do you think, if there is anybody, is a Skrull in this series so far? In the comments as well. Who do you think is a Skrull?
I wouldn't be surprised if it's bloody what's her name? Eleanor.
That's actually a fair shout. It's a fair shout.
Because even as a villain, as a female villain, she doesn't really demonstrate much, even fake empathy. She only shows any of that towards her daughter. But that's about it. Everything else, she's just very nonchalant.
Yeah. My brother's just reading you in the comments. Ooh, aliens attacking. I can't fight. I ain't got a mask.
Yeah, simple.
You have a very strange view of the world.
Wait, you think Tony Stark would have gone out and fight if he never had his Iron Man armor?
Yeah, but he did reveal who his face was to the public as well. I mean, that's a different point.
But I'm just saying, he would have wore. He ain't gonna go out and fight without his armor because
that's a false equivalency. This Lucky the dog is actually who I think might be a Skrull as well. Actually,
that's really interesting. Yeah, because to how he moved, he was too comfortable as a dog, like too too personal.
He just inserted himself into the situation as well.
Yeah, he met Hawkeye for the first time, and then he's just there all of him like, oh, we're best friends. We've known each other forever.
Kate's escaping the auction after the big fight, and the dog's just running up like helping out and being kicked in the face by the tracksuit mafia. And it's like, why is the dog got such a big, like, it seems to have like a vested interest in what's going on in all this.
But as you say that about the tracksuit mafia, how did they know where Kate lived?
They followed her. Because Hawkeye says that they've got eyes everywhere, essentially, and they're always out looking around to see stuff, which again suggests that they're part of a far bigger organized criminal network. So remember, he says, "Oh, like, did you get followed?" Yeah, he says. She says, "No." He says, "Like, where did you go?" "Oh, I only came here to drop off the dog," and they've basically followed her to the house.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if maybe it was even like this was even part of the plan by her mom. Wonder if the mom is part of this, like, just not trying to hurt her, but just trying to scare her straight to say, look, this kind of life ain't for you. Just go to school, finish your degree, get a job in this, go and do the security. That's it.
So the dog's got one like Nick Fury. Maybe like Nick Fury is up in the sky somewhere, hanging out of the scrolls. So maybe he sent down a doggy scroll just like him to monitor the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we're gonna see how this ends and what bigger questions it's gonna have on our mind once it's all said and done.
In the comics, that flat is actually Clint Barton's flat. It's all a bit reversed. They've changed a lot of things, but it does work well for the TV series. In the comics, that is Clint Barton's flat above the pizza shop. And in the comics, it's actually Kate's dad who survives and her mum who dies. So they've done a few cool things, which, for me, for having read this, it's keeping me guessing because I don't know, because I generally don't know where this is going.
Yeah, the fact that they've changed up the story. Yeah.
Which is quite cool, which I quite like. And I just got to say one last thing. My favourite sequence in the show was when the Tracksuit Mafia throw the Molotov cocktail at the flat, and Hawkeye punches the window before
it comes in and he catches it.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool move. I really like that.
But again, that's what I'm saying. Based on their behavior and how they were, I just have a feeling that maybe they were told, "Oh, it's Kate Bishop and she lives there. That's where you go." Because even when they were throwing all those firebomb cocktails, right? They all just stood there, Manny. There were no tactics with it. They weren't like they were spread out or whatever. Remember, when he threw it back out there, they were all just standing around, literally like a bunch of bowling pins. They were all just standing in the same spot.
I think we have confirmed they're not very good. The Tracksuit Mafia.
So either these particular bunch, this was maybe like their training, like their first day on the job, so they didn't really know much, or
maybe their cousins in Stratford, East London, are a bit better.
Or maybe they're the new set that just came over now from Europe, wherever in Europe they came from, and they're just like, yeah,
they came from Stratford. Established.
Yeah, they came from Stratford. They got the tracksuit on. They're like, yeah, we're gonna show what we're made of.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to episode 3. I think we're gonna actually have there's a lot of mystery in this show, which I liked. We really don't know what's. In fact, this has been a running theme in all the Marvel shows so far. There's been this running theme of mystery and building stuff up for suspense, which I really like. And I think if it wasn't for this, for the suspense, it'd be pretty pointless doing these streams. Because I do like just theorizing about what could happen. But I think we could maybe see Florence Pugh's widow character debut as soon as the next episode. Any predictions for episode 3?
No, none whatsoever. I mean, the only thing I can say, which, I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong about something. I did say to you, remember when we were doing when we did a podcast a little while ago, we were speaking about what shows we were looking forward to seeing and what we weren't. And I did say, you remember, I specifically said, I'm not looking forward to the Hawkeye. It doesn't look like it's going to be great. And I have to say, you know what? I was actually wrong because I really, really enjoyed it. Like, it's when I was watching it yesterday. I messaged you while I was watching it, didn't I? And I was like, it's actually really good. And you were like, oh, I'm just about to watch it as well, too. And I was saying to you, I'm really getting into it. It's like really good. And I really enjoyed it. And it went really quickly.
Yeah. When I finished, I was like, really?
Yeah. And it was just unexpected. It's not like, you saw, okay, this is the climax, so it's going to finish now. It just seemed like it finished as you're getting into it. It's like, oh, it's finished. Like, oh, wow. So I was happy when I saw, oh, there's 2 episodes. So, you literally got to really enjoy it. But, I was wrong based on how I couldn't see how it could live up to the previous ones, as in Loki and Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision.
So
those are all amazing. So I didn't think, based on the Hawkeye character and his personality and just how he was, that it would actually be any good. But it's actually been really, really good. Like, I've really, really thoroughly enjoyed the first 2 episodes so far. So, like I said, until they just tweak a few little things in terms of Kate, just to explain certain things like we were just discussing, then apart from that, I think it will do really, really well.
So I think it's maybe a bit unfair to compare the different Marvel shows to each other, because I think they all have a different.
That's what I'm saying. I was wrong because I was doing that in my head, and with the trailer that we saw with like dancing and all of that, I was like, what is this? Where they're going with this? So, just that. But I think in hindsight now, looking at that, I think that was great that they done that, because it gave you a false sense of what it could be, that it's going to be some jokey, silly thing. But in fact, this looks like it could actually be very, very dark, because if Kingpin comes in, from Daredevil, Daredevil was not exactly like kids friendly. It was dark, just like Punisher. So if it's anything like that, then, this could possibly be slightly dark. And the fact that they made her age, which I think might actually be a possibility, because they make her where she's actually 22, so she's actually an adult. She's not a child, which means you're not really bound by the restraints of, like the ratings of what you can and can't do because the character is a child. The fact that she's 22, where to him she's a child, but in reality she's a grown woman. She's old enough to drink. She's 22, so they can actually go either way with it.
Okay. Yeah. So as my brother says here, there's not much flashing lights or FX as in the previous shows, but absolutely, I think this is possibly more character driven to make up for that.
Yeah, on a human basis, like you're saying, because it's just. Yeah.
I think I get quite like a comfy kind of Christmas movie feel from the show.
Die Hard.
Yeah, a bit of Die Hard, but like just like that. Almost like a bit of that comfy feeling you get from watching like a Christmas movie like Home Alone. I've just got that. I don't know. It's got that kind of like warm blanket appeal to it as well.
Manny.
Mm-hmm.
The man's uncle got stabbed in the back. Blood rushing out, blood all out on the floor. There's not no warm, blankety feeling right there.
Have you seen the last sequence of Home Alone? That's some violent stuff in that movie.
With a hint of child recklessness.
Hey, just because it's comedy doesn't mean you should hit somebody in the face with an iron. All I'm saying.
Yeah, that was fun. Or let the man step on the the nail, on his foot, and then just drop right down the stairs, broke his back. Mike Tyson voice. Yeah, that was something else.
So I'm going to call it a day now. I know you want to say something about your new posters.
Thank you, Manny.
The art before we go. Go on.
Yes, the wonders of my beautiful art. Can we see it even better? Close. Yeah. So there you go. I wanted some decoration for the room. I know you can't see my mouth or anything. You're just seeing the top of my big forehead and that.
You do have a very big forehead.
Thank you. But I have two of my favorite characters up on that on the posters. First of all, on the left we've got the amazing Gambit and Rogue from X-Men. Love Gambit and Rogue. Manny P knew that from day one, from back in the day. And then the next one is, which I don't know if Manny's going to join me. I hope he does. It's Fire Fist Ace from One Piece, the anime series, which is now actually, they're making the live action version of it for Netflix, which apparently it's like really good. There's a lot of big like Hollywood stars who actually want to jump on board in it because, like some surprising people you thought, I wouldn't think they would be into this, but they're actually into it. So, yeah, we might be doing that once that's out, doing some podcast stream on that.
Yeah.
If not, then it will be me. I'll be soloing it if Manny P doesn't do it.
You can solo it. It's fine. Anyway, say goodbye.
Yes, goodbye, folks. On